Welcome to the State of EVs in the UK Interviews 2020. This one with Beth Georgiou of the ERA Championship and ERA Cup. And we have a great chat about all things electric racing. Hello, Beth.
Hi.
So it's a long time ago since we spoke. The last time we spoke was in a very noisy hall at Fully Charged Live.
Yeah, so it feels like a really long time ago now.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's obviously a shame we can't be talking there again. But things have obviously moved on. So let's talk about ERA. Do you want to explain what ERA is?
So ERA, well, actually, we're a few different things, but I think we're mainly talking about ERA Championship, and that's an entry-level all-electric Formula racing series. But we also have a STEM education program as well called ERA Cup, and that's a much smaller car that kids are designed to build in school or enthusiasts.
I really want to talk about the cup as well, because I think that's a fabulous idea. So let's start off with the championship, though. Obviously, this year has been somewhat challenging. Are you starting to get back out on doing things?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess this year's been challenging for most people, except for anybody that works in the digital industry, I suppose. But it's probably been thriving for those people. But obviously, we were set to start racing this year, and because of the situation, we had to rethink our plans. So now we've pushed everything back until next year, because we just felt like that was the most sensible choice to make. And obviously, at a period of time in Belgium, we also were not allowed to go to work. So we also had a period of time where we were working from home. But obviously, when you work with race cars, that did mean that we weren't, our technical people were not able to be in the workshop actually working on the car. But the good news is, I think a month or so ago, we were finally allowed to go back to work with certain measures in place. So the technical team are back. We've sorted out things with the car. We've been out testing, I think, 3 times now on track in the last month and a half. We're out testing again this week. So things are moving. We're planning some activities with the car that we can do now while we can't actually go racing. And basically now it's all about signing on our first teams for next year and getting everything ready and putting together a brand new calendar.
So where will this racing be taking place? Is it throughout Europe or?
Yeah, so ERA is a regional series. The reason being is it's entry level. So the idea is that the teams don't need to pay lots and lots of money to be traveling all around the world to be competing. So our inaugural series is a European series. Race calendar isn't finalized yet, but the circuits that we were looking at already for this year that I'm sure we'll be looking at again are in Belgium, the Netherlands, and the UK. So hopefully we'll be sticking to that calendar. Nice kind of little Northern Europe tour, and then of course we are looking at other series in other locations around the world, but they'll be separate series.
Yeah. So is this a sort of a single vehicle championship? Do the entrants have to provide their own vehicles? How does it actually work?
So this is quite a fun part, because we're doing something a little bit different than you regularly see in motorsport. So we've got 2 classes of entry for the teams. The first class is called sports class, and those teams literally buy off-the-shelf spec race car from us. Everything's ready, it works, it drives. So they can just go racing with that, and the changes that they can make on the vehicle are, minor setup changes, things like that. So that's really ideal for teams that don't have knowledge of electric vehicles yet, want somewhere to start, young drivers that maybe see electric racing as their dream career path, that want to get behind the wheel. So that's the sports class. And the other class that we have is called innovation class, and this is more where things get technically interesting, because the team buy essentially a rolling chassis with some other parts from us, and then from there they can self-develop the elements of the vehicle, like the powertrain, the energy storage system, the battery, the human machine interface. So they get quite a lot of freedom, or they don't have to do all of that. They just specialize in something like motors and they just want to modify the motor. That's fine. They're still innovation class, even if they're using our battery and other things like that. So that way those teams can really showcase their tech. Might be a small business in the EV world that want to show that why they're competitive. They might be a university partnership that are doing something cool and new. So that's innovation class, and they are two separate championships. So there will be a winner from each class, but for year one they will race together.
Okay, so there must be standards they've got to follow even on the innovation class.
Yes, so there's a pretty airtight set of regulations. Obviously, in motorsport, finding loopholes in the regulations is part of the fun. so writing regulations for motorsport is entertaining, but yeah, they have to fit in with a set of criteria. And with the innovation class teams, they work with us very early on as an organization, so they don't just go off and build whatever they want and come back to us in 6 months' time and go, we're ready to go racing. And we go, no, this isn't allowed. So they have to submit documentation that explicitly say what they're intending to put in the car for us to approve. Otherwise it's just gonna be a nightmare when we get to scrutineering. And we obviously have a team of experts that look at things like the battery chemistry. If they're doing something interesting with the chemistry, we need to know what it is exactly and approve that, etc.
I guess there's a safety element of that with the batteries as well.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that we're looking at potentially encouraging, maybe for year one or maybe for future years, is like looking at extra prizes for sustainable innovation within that. So obviously there's things like the cobalt free batteries has been suggested as a thing that we should maybe set as an extra challenge, not a mandatory challenge, but also that ends up with safer batteries as well. So we're looking at all sorts of fun things like that we can introduce into innovation class. And
hopefully, calling it innovation, there will be innovation spinning off of that, which will move into the real world.
Yeah, that's absolutely our goal. There was a few different drivers that made us launch ERA, and one of them was the fact that we felt that there were a lot of small to medium-sized businesses and startups in the EV sphere, because obviously it's an emerging market, it's new and it's exciting, but they don't necessarily have the budgets or the knowledge to go and compete in big motorsport. And so they're not getting to showcase their products, their tech. And motorsport is one of the cool things where you can be like, look, our motor came first,
Yeah.
we won. It gives you really nice quantifiable results. It gives you a car that you can take to your expos. It gives you lots of cool marketing materials, recruitment angles, etc. So for these businesses, it's a great tool, and hopefully gives them exposure and shows that their tech is valuable.
And hopefully that then leads on to that tech becoming available to the public in
exactly.
other cars.
Yeah.
We know from us iPace drivers that the iPace Trophy Series has actually had a significant and positive effect on the road iPace, and that we've all gained 20 to 30 miles of range through the research which went on that series. It's a shame to see that going, but it's the way it is. So hopefully that will be a driver, which is really good to hear. So how long are these races? What sort of distance are they about?
These are sprint races, so they're 23 minutes long, and we hold multiple races on a race weekend, which means there's a bit of fun, because obviously we need to plan charging and strategy for the teams. So that means we have multiple qualification sessions, and we don't allow the teams to charge between 2 qualification sessions. So that means they have to have a little think about where they're strategically going to put their hot laps. And hopefully it means we mix up the grid a little bit, have a bit of mix up with who's at the front and who's at the back. And that also makes for interesting racing for the fans as well. That's important.
I like that. So it's the equivalent of tyre management. It becomes battery management.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they'll have to manage their tires as well, so
Well,
it
yeah, of
gives them
course.
doubly as many things to work on, which is great. I mean, one of the complaints you see in some motorsport is that there's, that it's too predictable who's going to win, and the fans, they want less predictability. So that's something that we thought about incorporating with our races and how that could be possible.
Sounds really good. I'm looking forward to when you can actually get it off the ground.
I know, me too.
So let's talk about the other one, the ERI Cup. Am I right? I'm right.
Yes, yeah, the Cup.
So this is aimed at younger people.
Yeah. So we wanted to engage with younger people as part of our kind of responsibility of ERA, and it's something that a lot of us felt was important. A lot of our team have come through things like Formula Student, and that's been important to a lot of our team. So we wanted to also think about how we could make a program to encourage young engineers, because obviously ERA is a lot about young drivers, and they tend to come up through karting, etc. But there's not a lot of things we were doing that was for young engineers, and engineering is such a big part of our championship with innovation classes. It's a big driver for us. So we designed a kit car, a 100% electric kit car that you can build yourself. Kind of, I say it's like IKEA style, but then probably IKEA will sue me or something. But it's, you don't need any special equipment. You just need a toolkit and a bit of space in your garage or whatever to build it. So that's designed for school kids age 14 to 14 and up, basically, and big kids as well. So there's a few kits that I know have been sent out to very mature kids, big kids.
That does sound fun.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. We've all had a go in it as well, because we designed it to fit one of our other directors, who's like a large-sized man, and that was important, because it's got to be something that you can send to the enthusiasts as well, and kids can do with their parents. So it is adult sized, but I have to say it does go a lot slower with us.
So I assume there's a race series to go with this as well as just
so it's very regional based. At the moment, we've been running for a little while in Belgium and in the Netherlands. So we have some regions around there, and basically the school kids race at the end of the year in their local area, and it's all managed very locally, because obviously they don't travel far, etc. But now we've just starting to introduce a few other regions as well. So we're kind of growing globally. So we dream of it being a very global platform. And then obviously when we're racing with the championship in that region, we would like the Cup to join us and have a race, obviously not on the track, but in the paddock, etc. It would be perfect, and hopefully really, really inspiring for them to see the progress, the steps that they can take.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, 14-year-old me would have loved that.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good fun, and the cool thing I like about it is, and we even did this in house, because we've got a demo Cup car we built in house just before coronavirus, that we built to kind of have a bit of fun with, really, is for the team, and to take some Instagram photos of. But we encourage the teams to design and build their own bodywork. So that's the one thing that they do build themselves completely. So we obviously encourage them to be creative with the material that they build it out of, and it's a good opportunity to look at sustainable materials. So we built ours in-house out of pit wall signage from pit box from one of our other things, monitors, one of our other. It looks really cool. I mean, the paint job isn't great because it's painted over the top of pit wall signage rather than nice shiny bodywork, but we were really pleased that we kind of did it ourselves and used something and repurposed some scraps. So
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that idea. That's really
Yeah, we're really hoping we'll see some creativity. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter how ridiculous it is, as long as it's a functioning bodywork. There's some regulations regarding wheel covering, specifically with the bodywork and the kind of shape and dimensions it needs to be. But they can be pretty creative with what materials they're going to use there.
That sounds really exciting. Definitely going to attend one of those at some point.
Yeah,
especially once you spread them over to the UK as well. That would be really good.
I think the UK is very soon on the cards. I think Scotland is definitely an area that is coming soon. I mean, like I said, the whole purpose of ERA, the championship and the cup, is to have a global presence, but on a local basis. So hopefully it will be soon.
So just steering a little away from ERA for a second, you've had a lot of very interesting adventures lately.
Yeah. Oh no, not really. Not recently.
Well, not recently, but yeah, lately's probably putting it a bit over. Yeah. Since we last spoke, probably.
Yes, that's true. Although I can't remember what I've done since we last spoke.
But you taken EVs on quite long journeys. Yeah,
well, when I'm not working on ERA, I do a fair amount of journalism, all surrounding obviously EV specific stuff. So I've done a few crazy road trips to test out cars. The last really big one I did was when we took 4 electric cars up to Nordcap from Bristol in the UK. So it was 10,000 kilometers in total. It took us a month. And
so for people who don't know where Nordcap is,
it's the most northern point of Europe. Yeah. It's not far from the North Pole. It's only another 2,000 kilometers from the North Pole, which it sounds like a lot, but actually, it's not a lot. And there's a sign in Nordcap saying 2,000 kilometers to the North Pole, and I have never had the desire to get on a boat and just finish the job so much, and I'm not good on boats, so that wouldn't have gone well. But it was just like, the North Pole, that's so cool. It was really exciting, and actually it was a really eye-opening trip, because we took a Tesla Roadster, a BMW i3, a 30 kilowatt old Nissan Leaf, and a Model S kind of as a sport car. The Model S has no trouble at all doing that journey. It's not an adventure in the Model S, but we needed it to carry food and tents and things. Because the entire journey was completely self-sufficient as well, because it needs to be eco-friendly. But in Nordcap it was 10 degrees above the expected temperature, so it was a bit scary actually up there.
That's worrying. You get that.
Yeah.
So the Leaf survived getting up. I mean, that was a challenge.
Yeah, the Leaf was probably not as much of a worry as the Roadster. The Roadster's got a much better mileage, but it's very difficult to charge the Roadster. So I was working with 6 different adapters. I plugged into some interesting places. I had one I never know the plug name, but I had like the industrial caravan style adapter.
Commander adapters.
Exactly. So I was plugging in with like lorry drivers quite a lot of the time. The Leaf did pretty much okay, but I have to say by the end of the trip, the battery was just begging to stop being charged and charged and charged and charged. It was seriously heating up. But that was actually a Leaf from the EV Centre in Milton Keynes, and they got it back and it was still in one piece.
What they're glad about.
Yeah.
But I love that idea. It's something I've toyed with, the idea going up to the top of Norway, which would be a lot easier in the iPace than it would have been.
Yeah, it's actually a breeze, and it's so beautiful. I'm actually desperate to go back, because there's so many places I wish I could have stopped for a lot longer than I did. But obviously we're on a schedule, and it's difficult. The biggest challenge with 4 cars is not necessarily the individual needs of every car, but the fact that you're all running on the same charging line, let's say, charging network. It's not like up there you've got tons of choice, so we had to kind of work out how to get everybody to the top without everybody waiting around for the same charger. So it was a real logistical effort, which I don't think you would necessarily appreciate without kind of looking at the the maths of it and going, oh, actually, you know, this car has to set off at this time and arrive here, and then this one can tag in and plug in there. And it wasn't easy. It took more brain power than I think I had.
It's definitely those sort of journeys are a challenge. I remember very early on doing a trip to Berlin in a Model S, and even though that was a lot easier than it would have been with any other car, it was still a challenge working out where the superchargers were going to be and making sure.
Yeah, of course.
And I can't imagine what that would be like with 4 cars and trying to get that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. It's good fun. I wouldn't be in a hurry to do multiple cars again.
Yeah, are those probably improving, I guess, because Norway's definitely.
Yeah. Norway was incredible. Don't get me wrong. Norway the charging situation, it blew me away. And bear in mind, this was a while ago now. It's got a lot better. It's just the fun part of the fun with the trip was. Most of the drivers, obviously I wasn't driving all 4 because I'm not that talented, but most of the other drivers were brand new to EVs as well. So it was kind of an education process for them, which was part of the fun, but also part of the stress, because you kind of forget when I've been driving an EV for so long, that you actually have a lot of knowledge that you don't necessarily think to impart upon others. Or you go, oh yeah, and one more thing, and you just keep Columboing everyone, and that's
great. I really
that was definitely interesting. The first few days, I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you this, and oh, don't worry about this, and that was also logistically good fun. But I spent a lot of time. I mostly drove the roadster, except for a couple of days where I got unwell from mosquito bites, and it was really physically exhausting, I have to say. It was brilliant, but knackering. And now I just want to go back to Norway and on a more relaxed term and enjoy the beautiful scenery, really. Yeah, probably in my Model S.
I haven't got as far as getting to Norway. I did Sweden for the Unity launch for the little Unity car.
Oh yeah,
I was over there for that, and that was just gorgeous around there. And I kept thinking I must go further north and get into the fjords and all that area. I
really recommend it. It's like magical. I'd been to Norway before, so I knew it was beautiful, but I'd never gone up that far, and really every corner you turn the view gets better and better and better. So especially I had the top down in the roadster because as I said, it was really hot, so I was living the life. It was great.
That's fantastic.
And there's reindeer everywhere that just like live in the road, and they don't move out of your way. You just have to crawl behind them if they want to go the same way as you. So it was great. It's great to be in a silent car in nature. I'm really into nature. I really love animals and forests, and I always think that cars honestly ruin nature. So to be witnessing all the beautiful nature and be in that view with silence of the electric car, it felt right.
Yeah, that I can definitely get that. That's one of the really nice things. It's interesting actually. I was talking to someone the other day about China, because buses have gone, because all the buses have gone electric in Shenzhen, and it was suddenly quiet. The whole city was quiet, and you could hear the birds, which you couldn't do ever before.
That's so fascinating. It's actually interesting you say that, because the ERA chassis is Japanese, from Dome. So I've spent quite a bit recently of time in Japan and in Tokyo when I was there. Unfortunately, they're definitely not as EV as us in terms of BEVs, or they weren't then, but nearly every single car on the road is a hybrid, which means that when you're in the city, the traffic noise is basically zero because everybody's under 50 kilometers an hour. And it was for the first time, it was my first experience of a truly, obviously, crazy metropolitan city of Tokyo, but near zero traffic noise, which was incredible. So I really felt like it was a bit of a all fully electric rather than just hybrid, but it gave us a taster.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, it's really interesting, and I think particularly with the public transport changing over to battery powered in a lot of cities, that's going to make a big difference. And it's really interesting how it's all going. And I can't wait to see it move on even further because, as you say, the sound of silence is beautiful.
No, I agree. And well, I'm in Berlin at the moment, and it's really, really noisy, and it's probably completely ruining this interview because all I can hear is the trams and the cars going past.
And probably a lot of electric scooters, if I remember last time in Berlin.
No, actually. Oh, you mean the Lime scooters?
Yeah.
I thought you meant like motorbike scooters.
No,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of electric scooters.
Yeah, you couldn't move for them last time I was over there. But,
I think the novelty might have worn off a bit. I think probably too many people have fallen off.
Yeah. I know they put the regulations in not so long ago as well to try and make them a little bit safer because they were a little bit out there, but still very useful. And it was definitely I got around a lot on them when I was out there, so that was good to see. So you're normally based in Belgium, aren't you?
Yes.
Is that right? So one thing I wanted to sort of touch on with you because when I've done my European trips, I've always felt there's a bit of a charger black hole in Belgium when I go through it.
Yeah, there is.
Is there any sign of that improving?
Well, I'm actually probably not the best person to talk to anymore because obviously I used to have an i3. In fact, I had two i3s. Not at the same time because that would be greedy. And I had a massive pain because I commute, obviously not on a daily basis, but I commute quite regularly, or was commuting quite regularly between the UK and Belgium. And with the i3, it was terrible. You really had to hope that the charger was working and up and running because there are lots of chargers in Belgium, but half of them would be broken or be not you weren't allowed to use them unless you were registered to their system, and that system was really difficult to register to, and they wouldn't answer the phone, etc. And they had improved last time I checked, and I think they are starting to kind of at least do this with the systems a little bit and link them up and make them a little bit more pay-as-you-go friendly as well, which is really important. But of course, I now have a second-hand Tesla Model S, so I'm living the unlimited supercharging life.
And
I own the cheapest car I could possibly own, and everyone's like, oh, you've got a Model S, like it's so expensive. Yeah, I mean, they definitely, I'm not gonna lie, like if you look at the money, it looks expensive if you buy a new one, but if you do what I did and buy a second-hand one with unlimited supercharging still, then especially when you drive crazy high mileage like I do, then it's the cheapest car I could own.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant idea to do that. And I think that's something people forget, and we're going to see it over the next few years. That the second-hand market's already growing now, but the availability of longer range second-hand cars is just going to be out there, and there'll be a lot of Model S's out there. Which is
and I really love it. I mean, I dreamed of having a Tesla when I first ever saw one. I never actually thought it would be a reality, that it would happen. So I am living the dream with my dream car. But a lot of people get a bit negative when you say you've got one. They assume that you've either like forked out loads of money just for a status symbol car, or there's people make assumptions. But when I actually say, look, essentially, if you look at it, I'm traveling this far on the equivalent of 11 liters of petrol in efficiency, and I never pay for fuel.
Yeah.
The price of my car will write itself off over a couple of years in fuel costs alone, because I drive. And that's a strange case for me. I wouldn't recommend a Tesla for most people actually that are just driving maybe 30 miles a week. Definitely not. But for me, driving thousands and thousands of kilometers, it's brilliant. It's taken me all over Europe. It's a little bit too big to take all over Europe, so that's the one negative. But
I always remember trying to take the Model S into a car park in Antwerp and thinking like, I'm not sure I'm actually going to get out of this car park.
Well, you know what? I find UK is the worst. Tesco cars are absolutely nightmare with the Tesla. And then people almost kind of watch you and they're like, oh, go on then, go and park that. We'll watch you try and park that. I'm like, oh no, there's pressure.
Yeah.
Thank God it parks itself.
Yeah, I mean, the iPace is a challenge enough in places, and obviously that's a bit shorter and narrow, which is good. I mean, the worst one was actually the Model X I borrowed and took to
that's just enormous.
to Antwerp, to Amsterdam, and that was a definite challenge getting into some supercharging places. I remember trying to get into Blue Water, and I couldn't work out how I was supposed to get into that space.
Yeah, no, the X is. I'm actually not a fan of huge cars, especially not for me, because I don't really need it. With the S, it's great because actually we use it a lot at work. It's my work car as well, so we use it to lug stuff around the racetrack and things like that. So it's ideal. But in the past, I've always favoured the smaller car, and whenever new EVs come out, I'm always eyeing up the cute small ones rather than the SUVs, and that's more environmentally friendly anyway. And I don't have any reason to have a massive car, but I have to say it is handy, especially traveling between the UK and Belgium, to have the size. But I do catch myself eyeing a Model 3 in the future, but it just wouldn't be financially interesting for me right now with my unlimited supercharging on mine, and I don't want to just trade in my car because I love it.
The free supercharging is just definitely.
Yeah, obviously that's gonna end at some point, but for now I take advantage of that because it's brilliant.
Brilliant. Well, Beth, it's been a delight talking to you again. Hopefully we can do this next year actually in person at Fully Charged Live again.
That would be nice.
or at an ERA event, which would be even better.
That would be better.
Well, you take care, and thanks again for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, again, many thanks to Beth for that. That was brilliant. We thoroughly enjoyed doing that interview. And hopefully we can catch up with Beth next year, and well, maybe even sooner than that, and see what the ERA are doing. Sounds really interesting stuff.